Now let's talk about it right now. We are AT&T. I'm Courtney with Cowboy Nation.
We are here. We are live on Tag Nation. And tonight, Jimmy D's running a solo mission. But before we get to all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget, we're nearing that 1,000 subscriber. Mike Tag's got a nice Dallas Cowboys prize for you to hang on your wall in your cave for your 1,000 subscribers. So make sure that you subscribe, get your friends to subscribe, and like us on Spotify. We're everywhere. You can't avoid us. So July 4th, a couple weeks ago, we had the week off. Last week, yours truly was on vacation, and tonight Mike Tag's on vacation. So just to give everybody a heads up, I don't know if anybody's ever been down to Virginia Beach. That's where we went last week with my family and a couple other families. I'll tell you something. If you've never been there, it's a nice place. It's pretty cool. The Norfolk Air Force Base is right there, so they got jets flying around all day long. It's pretty cool, but great place to go if you have older kids or just the adults. If you have little kids, there ain't a lot to do. But we had a great time, had a lot of fun, and now it's Mike Tag's chance to have some fun with his family this week. So first thing I want to touch on, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's a light sports week. I was kind of figuring, what the hell am I going to talk about? But just about an hour ago, the big announcement was made. All we've been hearing in the wrestling world is about MJF. What's going on, MJF? Where's he been? When's he going to show up? Is it a work? Is it a shoot? You know what? Big news is Ric Flair tonight, baby. Ric Flair's final match. The opponent has been announced, and we're not going to say it. They turned into a tag team match, which came out of left field. So he'll be teaming with his son-in-law, Andrade El Idolo, and they're going up against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. So Double J is going to be in his hometown, and Jay Lethal, who was training with Ric Flair and had the woo off of Ric Flair back in the day, will be fighting Flair and Andrade. So looking forward to that. It's a couple weeks away. He swears it's his last match. Danny, I see you on there running your mouth. We'll get to Danny in just a minute. When on my time, we'll get to Danny. So anyway, I'm still on the fence whether or not I'm probably going to buy it. I'm a huge Ric Flair fan, and I don't think the price is terribly bad. So that's 2 weeks from Sunday. So looking forward to that. But Danny, I'm glad you did chime in, because before I get on to the next topic, Danny's on here every week. He's running his mouth. This guy has no life. He sits around and he's listening to our podcast 24 hours a day. And, he's sitting there with one hand on his crotch, the other hand on his phone, waiting to send that text message and comment on here. But let's take a little stroll back in memory lane, Danny. See, like I said, Danny has no talent. So if we go back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, Mike Tag and I would do crank calls, right? So we do them all the time. And, it's work, because we had to, come up with a little storyline and make our way through the board op and all that. So it took time. And then we had to wait on hold forever. But, Mike Tag and I have lives. We always have. So there was times where I said, we don't wait on hold for no half hour on the phone. I don't want to wait on hold an hour with the call screener and all this. So Danny would love for us to make the crank calls. All right. So when we tell him, no, we're not going to wait on hold for 45 minutes or an hour, he would offer to do it. So we would tell him what name we were going to use. Danny would call up and he'd wait on hold for us for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. So that tells you, how much lack of a life Danny has. And it also shows you, how much he's jealous of what we do and the kind of content we put out. So that's why he's always on here, ripping me and trying us. So anyway, Danny, now the whole world knows that you're just a mark for us. You can just move along and move along. So move on to the next topic. Mike Tag guilted me into a few weeks ago, if you guys were listening. Mike Tag guilted me into getting Jake Paul tickets. Right, Jake Paul's wrestling, or he's fighting. He has a boxing match here in the Garden. and he was supposed to be fighting Tommy Fury. Well, Tommy Fury had a little hang up. I guess one of his relatives has a little something to do with maybe some shenanigans over in Great Britain, maybe a little Irish connection there. So they wouldn't let him in the country. So instead of canceling the fight altogether, Jake Paul got Hasim Rockman. Now, it's crazy because if you look at the matchup, and uh, it's a dramatic size difference. First of all, I mean, Paul is 6'1", 190. Rockman's 6'3". Like he's fought as high as 240. I think he's going down to 210 for this fight. The trash talk has already started. Rockman called him a little boy. He's going to treat him like a little boy, and so all the trash talking is starting already. And I think it's gonna be a good time. If you look at it, all of Jake Paul's opponents have been under 6 feet tall. So this is the first time he's fighting anybody over 6 foot, and this guy is 2 inches taller than him, with a longer reach and heavier. Both guys are going to be changing weight classes to make the fight. Rockman's going down, Jake Paul's going up. So it ought to be an interesting fight. At first, I was a little hesitant, about getting tickets. My kid was on me about it, and when on the show a few weeks ago, Mike Tag said, "Hey, his kid went and said it was one of the best times he ever had when Jake Paul was down in Tampa." So definitely looking forward to it. And honestly, I think that the fight with Rockman is going to be better than Tommy Fury. So maybe we lucked out on that one. So that's 18 days away. We're looking forward to that. Let's see. Sonia Lovato. Hey there. First time tuning into the podcast. Show some Cowboys love all the way. Well, Sonia, I'm glad you tuned in, and make sure you tune in every Monday night for the flagship show at 7 p.m. Eastern. You're looking at the wrong guy for the Cowboys. The right guy is on vacation this week. He'll be back on maybe Thursday night. Definitely we'll both be back on next Monday. Mike Tag and I are always on every Monday night. We do the show together. We talk about all sorts of things. Obviously, the show is Cowboy centric. So definitely keep tuning in. And if you do like the Cowboys, you'll hear a lot about that. Once football season comes up, you're going to hear a lot more NFL stuff. The most of the NFL I have to say this week, there isn't a whole lot going on. I only know that, you have USFL guys trying out at multiple NFL camps. So not a surprise at all. I think it's great. Hey, if the USFL is going to, if they're going to continue as maybe a minor league situation, minor leagues, then why not produce guys and push them up to the NFL? I think it's a great move. They're definitely not competing with the NFL, and they just won't be, because it's a different season, a different time of the year. But I think that's a good thing. But the other NFL news I saw, where the NFLPA has already indicated that Deshaun Watson is, if he gets suspended for the season, it sounds like the NFLPA and Watson's attorneys are going to file a lawsuit against the NFL for that. Which we've gone over this over and over. I have trouble. It's tough when there's 26 different people who've accused him of shenanigans, and two of them already shut up with some hush money. I'm always a firm believer that you're innocent until proven guilty, but I mean 26, it's kind of tough. Jeff Story, miss you. Jeff, definitely miss being here. It's a lot more fun with Mike Tag, but I'm glad to be back on. And that's Craig James. So nice of Mike to partner with him. Craig, you're funny. Anyway, hey Craig, what teams do you like? Let's see, who do you like? Let's hear it, buddy. Yeah, we'll see if he has anything to say. So anyhow, getting back to what I was talking about. So we'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson. I mean, that was those are two of the probably only real stories running in the NFL this week. Not much else happening. So we'll move on to baseball for now. So we're at the All-Star break. The Yankees, of course, are in first place, best record in the league by far. The only other team, two teams even closer, the Dodgers and Astros. We're stomping on people. We're way ahead in our division. And, even with the runs that the Red Sox and the Blue Jays had made, we're still well ahead. And I don't see that changing. Even with a lot of the injuries we've had, we're still, well ahead of everybody else. Red Sox made a run, then they started soul searching a little bit and and lost a few games, and they're down to 500. But we also have a lot of people. We also have a lot of people, skipping the All-Star game. It's kind of funny because we always talk about the NFL having a lot of people skip the game because it's the end of the season. It's kind of anticlimactic, but I guess there's a lot of guys hurt, and you can't blame them. Stay home, relax, take the week off, spend some time with the family, get some rest. Especially Garrett Cole, I'm okay with him sitting it out because we need it for the long run. Speaking of New York baseball, the Mets definitely slipping. We had them and the Yankees. We are kind of hopeful maybe they'd, maybe a Subway Series, but now the Mets are only two games ahead of Atlanta. So they're slipping, unfortunately. And I'm not one of those Mets haters. Even though I'm a big Yankees fan, I'm not a Mets hater. So I'm hoping they can pick it up again and get going. And I have no doubt the Yankees are going to keep it going. Again, we're 64-28 at the All-Star break through injuries in the pitching core, injuries to our hitters, and we're still steamrolling people. So then Dover, good one. Yeah, I'm wearing a hockey because I represent my teams year round, right? And we actually are going to get to hockey in a few minutes because free agency was last week, so I'm going to touch base on a few of those. But I represent my teams all year, right? So you're going to see the Rangers, you're going to see the Yankees, you're going to see the Knicks, and of course the Falcons, right? So you just deal with it if you don't like it. Go Diamondbacks. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what's going on with baseball right now. We'll see what happens. We got all the home run derby and all that stuff next week. So moving on to hockey, like I was saying, we had a lot of free agency moves last week, and I'm not going to go into the weeds with them. I'm not going to go too crazy. I think the biggest one was Johnny Gaudreau. So Gaudreau is from South Jersey, so everybody thought he was going to either end up with the Devils or the Islanders or maybe even the Flyers. But first of all, he didn't go with the Flyers because who would want to move to that dump? I would never want to go to Philly. I like to bypass Philly anytime I got to drive down there because they suck. The place is a dump, and we don't want to know nothing about that. So he made the right choice not going to the Flyers. The Islanders, they're always soul searching. They're going nowhere fast. I'm surprised he didn't sign on with the Devils, though. Again, close to hometown team for him. He ended up with Columbus, which is, hey, $10 million a year. But again, a mediocre team. He's under Tortorella, and Torts is Mike Tagg's favorite coach in the NHL because he's always going off on people and carrying on and cursing and swearing. So I'm not sure how that's gonna go because it was talks on how Gaudreau and Murray and Calgary were butting heads. Well, what are you going to do with Torts, man? Because that guy ain't taking shit from anybody. So we'll see how that goes. But I guess hey, for that kind of money, mediocrity talks, and I guess he's not going to have to deal with any of the media pressure they get in any of the big cities. In Calgary, of course, hockey is king up in Canada, so you're going to be dealing with the media up there that's on you every day. In Philadelphia, of course, it's a dump. There's still big media hype down there, and they're going to come down hard on their teams, especially when they're not playing well. And then here in the city, whether it's the real New York team, the Rangers, or even the Devils and Islanders, you're still going to get that media heat. In Columbus, it's going to be smooth sailing for him as far as dealing with the media. And I don't know. Let's see if he can, get another 115 points again this season. We'll see what happens. But let's see what we got here. Mike Hawk, awesome show so far. Mike Tagg's taking a break for the week. He's taking a vacation. So he covered for me last week. I'm covering for him this week. And we got Danny. Will the Rangers make the finals next season, or was it a one-year wonder? And Danny, I appreciate a real question from you for once. You know what? I don't think we're a one-hit wonder. We definitely had, our goaltender saved our asses quite a bit. I think that Chris Drury has built a really solid team. I think kind of sucked in free agency last week. We ended up we lost Nemeth, but that was a cap casualty. So we got to pay Capo with that money. We lost Ryan Strome. We lost Frank Vetrano, which kind of pissed me off a little bit because I like Petrano. But we picked up Vinny Trocheck, who's going to play center for Miko Zibanejad. I think that's gonna be a really good scoring line now. I think you're gonna see a lot more scoring out of that line. And so no, I don't think it was a one hit wonder. I think we're gonna go deep in the playoffs again. And I think we have everything in the right place, and hopefully that continues. So and the funny part is we actually traded our backup goalie to Gorgiev out to Colorado, and picked up Louis Domingue, who was the guy, with the pork sandwiches and crap, who third string goalie, he almost beat us in the finals. So we signed him and as a third string goalie, which was ironic. But so and then consequently, Darcy Kemper from the Avalanche, he just won a ring. He jets out to Washington for his $6 million a year. So it's the business of sports. You just hoisted the Stanley Cup with your team a few weeks ago. Now you're headed out to the East Coast to make some scarroll. And you know what? Again, it's a business of sports. You can't blame them. Guys who in the sports world, most of them their shelf life is short, and you got to make all the money you can while you could. Because you never know when you're going to have an injury that might finish you off or what have you. So anyway. So, that's what the Rangers did. I think, one of the other big moves was Edmonton. So the Oilers, they had the two top scoring guys in the Stanley Cup Finals for the entire finals, including the Cup Finals. And these two guys didn't make the finals, but they had the most points out of anybody in the entire playoffs. So that's, of course, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. So they ended up picking up a goalie because their big issue has been goaltending. They give up a lot of goals, and they have Mike Smith, who was like 40 years old. So again, make the money as long as you can. That's an anomaly, somebody being that old. So they picked up Jack Campbell from Toronto, and I don't know what he's making, but I think it was a damn good pickup on their part. So we'll see what happens for them. Hopefully, Edmonton has a tradition of winning. It's been a while, but they've always had a tradition of winning. So hopefully with those two, big scorers, hopefully, Jack Campbell can help them out a little bit. One last thing about hockey and, small market team, the Senators, their fans have been ripping on them for years. They've sucked for years. They didn't want to spend any money. Well, they finally went out and spent some money and picked up DeBrincat from Chicago. He's a 41 goal scorer. They picked up, Claude Giroux, definitely on the back end of his career. But hey, you know what? He's a good player. He did well for the Panthers. So we'll see what happens there. And most importantly, they picked up a goaltender. They picked up Cam Talbot from Minnesota. So that's a good pickup for them. Jay, what's going on with the Knicks? They finally going to win some games after coming in second in the summer league. Jason, I don't put much stock in that summer league nonsense. The problem with the Knicks was, 2 seasons ago we looked great, and then last year we were just a complete disaster. We picked up Brunson, not necessarily who I would have went after first, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I put it on Leon Rose. Everybody was all excited. Our general manager emptied out a lot of cap space. We're going to pick guys up. We dropped a lot of dough on Brunson for $20 million a year. And I just think they overpaid him. My opinion. I don't think he's going to take us to the promised land, but I guess, we'll see what happens. How do you feel about the Islanders' decision in picking up no free agents? You know what, Dom? That makes total sense to me because they're complete garbage every year. The Islanders are going nowhere fast every year. They got all these hopes. They're either not making the playoffs or on the outside looking in, and so they're the little dirty stepchild, little redheaded stepchild here in New York. So we don't worry about the Islanders, and the Devils aren't far behind. So they're just stay away from us. So anyway, like I said, it's been a slow sports week. I think the other item. I'm not a big tennis or golf fan. I'm not going to pretend to be, but I know that the Live tournament is really getting a lot of attention. And the funny part is I didn't even realize why they call it the Live Tour. Well, it's 54 holes. instead of the normal 72 that the PGA runs. And I guess that yesterday on Twitter, the folks who run Live were, they're paying outrageous amounts of money to these guys, and they're pulling them from the PGA. And Rory McIlroy, who's been a holdout for a while, he's questioning people and why they're jumping ship over to Live. Well, man, when when you're making a couple $100,000 to come in second place in the PGA, and you're in the Live and you're making 7 figures to come in second place, I think that's a big difference, man. So the Live tournament put something out on social media or something yesterday, calling out McIlroy and saying this is your last chance to come over and join their tour. Now, I know there's some political nonsense and crap behind the scenes. I'm not going to get into all that, and that's not what our show is all about. But he is one final holdout, and he was talking a lot of trash about the Live tournament and actually ripping on some of his fellow golfers who did jump ship. But again, golfers obviously have longer shelf lives than your contact sports or your 4 major sports. But look, man, Phil Mickelson's making a tremendous amount of money on that Live tour, and he's like almost 50 years old, I think. So why wouldn't you? But again, Rory's talking about all sorts of other political stuff you won't get into, and if you want to read about that, read up on it. So, who is going to be the biggest powerhouse team in the NHL? That's a good question. It's so early to tell right now. Hard to tell right now, man. It's way too early. So we'll see what happens in October, November. So, but anyway, like I said, it's been a relatively slow sports week. Any other comments or questions about football, basketball, hockey, anything, wrestling, professional wrestling? No? All right. Well, look, thanks for joining in tonight. Like we said earlier, like, subscribe. Make sure you tune in every Monday night at 7 Eastern. Again, for our new subscribers, listeners like Sonia, usually Mike, Tag, and I going back and forth, talking about old stories, talking football, obviously, like I said, talking a lot of Cowboys, and having fun. And then we'll also have one-offs during the week. We'll have, if Mike wants to jump on and talk some Cowboys, he will. If I want to jump on and talk about something midweek, it'll be a spontaneous thing. But this is the flagship show every Monday night at 7 Eastern. Make sure you join in. And guess what? It's time to go. Everybody have a great week. We'll catch you later. Take us out, Mike.